Hi, it's Jordantine1, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make this adorable Lumigurumi octopus. So you can see I made a girl octopus, and she has this cute little flower. It's the striped puff flower, and I'll add the tutorial link for that if you want to make a little girl with a flower. And then I have this boy octopus that I made a sailor hat for, and again I'll include the link for that. So I think they turned out really cute. To make the octopus, you're going to need some type of hook, and I'm going to be using a Rainbow Loom metal hook, but you can use a crochet hook or whatever you have available. And then you'll need approximately 910 of your main color band, so I am using pink. And then you're going to need somewhere between 4 and 8 black bands for the mouth, or whatever color you would like to make the mouth. And then you'll need a bunch of clips. And I have a twist tie that I'm going to be using to make my magic ring, but that is optional. And then you're going to need some type of stuffing. I have polyfill that I'll be using. And then you'll also need something for the eyes, whether it's buttons or beads or googly eyes, or you can always just use rubber bands. The first thing that we're going to make are the octopus's tentacles. So to do that, we're going to make a corkscrew or a curlicue, and this is what one of them looks like. So I'm going to show you how to make one, and then I'll let you finish the other 7 on your own. And it's really quite easy to do. And for each one of the tentacles, you're going to need a total of 67 bands. To begin, we're going to make a chain of 18 rubber bands, so I have 18 bands counted out here. And the beginning one we're just going to double, so place it on your hook, twist, and put it back on. So you have the 2 loops, and then you're just going to take one at a time, get it on your hook, and pull it through those 2 loops that are on your hook, and back on. Just take your next one, pull it through the 2 loops, that other end goes back on. So it really is quite simple to do. So I think it's nice to have your bands counted out. That way you can just do all the ones in your pile and you don't have to be constantly counting in your head. But if you don't feel like counting them out, you can just count them as you go along. So sometimes when you're growing your chain it doesn't look smooth. Sometimes some of the bands get a little bit goofy looking, but don't worry about it. It'll all work out as you continue to grow here and work in the chains. So this is my 18th one here. Next we're going to do 3 single crochets into 15 of the chains, and then the very last chain is going to get 4 single crochet. So I have 16 piles here with 3 in each of the piles, except for the last one has 4. So here's our chain of 18, and we have our hook through the very end one, and we're going to skip the next chain. So I'm going to this next chain over to the left here. And I am going to be going in from front to back, so you can see how my hook is going in through what I'm calling the front of this chain. I want to make sure that I'm always going in through that side. So I'm going to this next chain here, and I'm going to go from front to back. Make sure you're going through both loops there. And I'm going to do 3 single crochets. So to do a single crochet, you're just going to grab your band, pull it through the 2 chain loops, get it back on your hook. So to start, you're going to have 4 loops here, and I'm taking the one on the end, and it's going to slide through the other 3. So now I want to go back through that same chain. So again, from front to back, I'm going through the 2 loops. I'm going to grab my second band, and I'm going to pull that through, it goes back on my hook, and now from now on you're going to have 3 loops at this part, and then the one pulls through the other 2. And then again you want to go back through that same chain one more time, pull it through, back on your hook, so you have those 3 loops, and one pulls through the other 2. So you can see we've done 3 single crochets in this chain here. So we're going to just move to the next chain to the left, and again we're going to do 3 single crochets. So I'm pulling through one, back on my hook, and one slides through the other 2, and then I'm going back through that same one for a second rubber band, and then again same chain, pull through your third, and then one slides through the other 2. So you won't notice a curve right away, but after you do a couple of these you'll definitely notice how it's starting to spiral. So I'm going into my next chain over to the left, and I'm going to pull through the first one, back through for the second, and then once more, so now you can see here you are starting to get that spiral pattern. And now for the next chain over to the left, I have my first, second, and then a third, moving over, so that's 1, 2, and 3. So you can definitely see here how it's spiraling around. So I'm just going to continue on here, and I'm not going to continue to count them all out. So as I said, it's really quite easy to do as long as you know how to make a single crochet. And I think it makes a really cool pattern. I love this curly Q or corkscrew. I know that different people make these different ways, at least in crochet. But when I was making the design, I tried some different things. I initially had tried 4 single crochet in each of the stitches, and then it was too many. It just wasn't giving it the right curl that I wanted. And then I also had tried doing sort of a double crochet, but then that wound up just getting way too big. And now we're on to the next set here. I think sometimes as it grows it gets a little bit awkward to hold with the curls underneath here. So you kind of have to just find your rhythm and find the best way to hold it in order to just work around those. So we're getting down here. And now I have 2 left here. So this is my second to last chain, and I'm doing the 3. And don't worry if your end chain gets sort of pulled out of shape, because this is the first band we put on, so if you pull one end, the other end's going to go in. So just try and get them fairly even. And then in this very last chain, we're actually going to place 4 rubber bands. So it's just 4 single crochet. I like to add that 4th one just because it helps close this circle a little bit, so it's not so bare at the end. And then here you can see your curly Q. And if you need to, you might have to reshape it a little bit, but it should pretty much hold a pretty decent spiral. So then you want to take a clip and just put it around the band that's on your hook just so it doesn't come apart. And then you can just lay this off to the side, and then you want to go ahead and make 7 more of these curly Qs for the legs. So I'm not going to film it as I said earlier, but I will add the time to go back to if you need to follow along again. I now have my 8 legs made, and so what I'm going to do is just put these off to the side, and then I'm going to start to work on the body. The first thing I'm going to do to make the body is start with a magic ring, and I have a total of 6 rubber bands, so I'm going to have 5 bands into the magic ring. And I am going to be using a twisty tie just to help me keep those center bands together. I find it a little bit easier, but if you don't have one of those, that's okay. It's not 100% necessary. So what I'm going to do is take my twist tie and put it with my hook. And then I'm going to take my first band and I want to triple this. So I'm placing it over top of the hook and the twist tie, twisting and putting it back on, twisting and putting it back on. So you'll have 3 loops. I'm just going to pull this up and bend it in half, and that's just going to help keep those 3 bands together and give me something to grab onto. And now I have 5 left that I'm going to pull through this center. So I'm grabbing the first one and I'm going to pull it through and put it back on. And if you don't have a twist tie, you'll just have to pinch these 3 bands in your fingers and pull it out. And then I have the 2 loops, and the one is going to pull through the other. And then I'm going back through. I'm always going through from the front. And I'm going to grab my next band, pull that through, get it back on. So I have the 3 loops, and then one will pull through the other 2. Whoops, just lost it there. And I'm just going to continue on one at a time. And I do always work from front to back, but it is possible you can work from back to front. You just have to stay consistent throughout. So now I'm pulling through my next one, and once you have the 3 loops, the end one pulls through the other 2. So now I'm pulling through my 4th band, and then one more time here. And now I can take this twist tie and remove it. And then I just want to spread these out because they do get all bunched to one side. I'm just going to even them out. And then I'm going to take a clip here. I have an S-clip. I'm going to use that for my stitch marker. And I'm just going to place it right on that band that was on my hook. In the second row, you're going to need 10 rubber bands, and we're doing 2 single crochet in each of the stitches because we want this to increase. So let me just get my hook right back on. and I'm going to go over to the left here, and I'm going in the first stitch. And what a stitch is it's this sideways V shape here, and there's 2 loops to it. You want to make sure you go through both. And again, I'm always working front to back. So I'm taking my first band and pulling it through, getting it back on, and then same as we did with the magic ring, the one on the end pulls through the other 2. And we want 2 in each of the stitches. So I'm going back through that same stitch, grabbing my second band, and doing that second single crochet. So now I'm just going to work my way around. I'm going to this next stitch to the left. I'm going to pull through the first one, and then I'm going to do a second. And then I'm just going to keep repeating that for all of the stitches. So I have 2 more sets here. And I'm trying to go a little bit slow, but I don't want to take too terribly long, just because these tutorials do get very long. And now I have 1 set left here, and I should have 1 stitch left. So your last 2 bands are going to go through the stitch that has the clip on it. In row 3, I'm going to repeat that same pattern. I'm doing 2 single crochet in each of the stitches, so I need a total of 20 rubber bands. And so I actually did not move my clip here, so let me just move that to the band that's around my hook so I know that's where I ended the last row. And so I want to go over to the next stitch over to the left here, and I'm going to do 2 single crochets. And then I'm just going to work my way around doing 2 in each. So normally when you're increasing, you don't usually do 2 rows of 2 in each stitch, but I wanted to get it pretty wide right away because we have all of these 8 legs that we need to fit. And I also wanted it to sort of be kind of flatter on the bottom, so that way he would sit a little bit better. So I tried a lot of different body shapes, but that's why I ended up going with this one. And sometimes you can see how my hook just slipped off. Occasionally that happens, but it's usually pretty simple to get the bands right back on and pick up where you left off. And I apologize if anyone thinks I'm going too fast. I am going to consider this more of an, not necessarily advanced tutorial, but maybe a little bit more for somebody that has used rubber band crochet before. But if you're struggling with this, you can always just try an easier tutorial. For example, I do have a single crochet bracelet that is good if you're just starting out, or my Oreo cookie is actually pretty easy. So you can try one of those smaller projects before you try and tackle a bigger one like the octopus. So now I've done 2 in each and I have 2 left, and my last stitch again is always going to be the one where the marker is. So I'm just going to do my 2 single crochet through that, and I always find that my clip gets in the way. So let me just take my clip off. for now, and I know once I do this second stitch, that's where I'm going to add my clip. So it's going to be on the band that's around my hook. In row 4, we are still going to be doing an increase, but we're doing it every other stitch. So I have a pattern of 1, 2, 1, 2, and so on. So you're going to need a total of 30 rubber bands. So I'm just going to my next stitch over here, and I'm going to start with a single, just one single crochet. And then in the next stitch, I'm going to do 2. So that's 1, and then back through the same stitch for a second. And then 1, and then 2 for the next. So I'm just going to keep repeating. I won't count out every single one here. And then I have 1 in the next here. So I wasn't sure what color I wanted to make my octopus, and I started out with a purple one, and then I was trying to decide which color to make it. I was sort of leaning towards blue, but then the packs of blue bands that I got, I don't know, I just wasn't happy with the quality of them. They were more like rubbery, and they didn't want to glide against one another, so I decided against doing the blue. And then I wound up with pink, and actually my daughter had a pink octopus that she used to love, a stuffed animal that she used to sleep with. So I thought that was kind of fitting that I used a pink one. I think it was a Beanie Buddy. It was like a Beanie Baby, only it was bigger. So maybe when I'm done with this one, I'll stick it in her bedroom, even though she's way beyond those years. So we're getting down to the end here. So I have 2 stitches left, and I have 1 for the second to last. Whoops, I just lost it there. And then one more time. Let me just move this clip. I feel like I'm always fighting with it. I have 2 in this last one. And I'll move my clip. In row 5, you're going to need a total of 30 rubber bands, and we're doing a single crochet in each of the stitches, and we are going to add the legs at this point. So I know in a lot of other projects adding arms and legs is a really big pain, but I'm happy to say in this one it's quite simple to do. So I'm just going to go through my next stitch over to the left here, and then I'm going to pick up my first leg. And the way that you want to attach this is, you can see here how it's curving around. you want the curvy part to be facing upward. So that way the leg will lay outward, because if you did it the other way, it would curve under the body and it wouldn't work out. So you want to make sure that you're putting it on with that facing upward. And then you're going to go through this loose end here where your clip is. And you can take that clip off. And then we're also going to go through this very last chain here. It's going to be a nice open circle there that your single crochets are through. So I'm going to put my hook underneath and push through from the underside. And then I'll take my first band and I'm just going to go through the loop, through this other loose loop, and I'm keeping it pinched in my fingers here. And if you're afraid that you might lose this, what you can do is attach a clip. That way it just gives you a little bit something more to hold on to and to sort of stop it from pulling all the way through. And then it's going through the stitch. You're getting that other end back on. So you have your 3 loops on like you would in a regular single crochet, and then one is going to pull through the other 2. And so there's my first leg attached. And now I'm going to do 3 regular single crochet. So I'm just going over to this next one. So that's 1, 2, and then 1 more. And then in this next stitch I'm going to add my next leg, so I'm going through the stitch first, picking up my next leg, and I want that curl facing up. And then I want to go through this loose loop and then come underneath and go through this open circle. I can take my clip off. And I'm going to take my next band, and again, if you want, you can attach a clip to this. I'm not going to bother to do that, but if you're struggling, you can certainly do that. So I'm going through the circle, through the loop, through the stitch, getting the other end back on. So I have the 3 loops, and 1 slides through the other 2. And now I'm going to do 3 single crochet again. So this will be my first one. And once you start adding these legs, it's going to start to get heavier and heavier. It gets a little bit more awkward to work with, just because they're kind of bulky. So this is my second single crochet, and then do my third. And now in the next stitch, again, I'm going to add the next leg, so I go through the stitch, getting this loop on my hook. It's kind of pulled inside there. Let me just pull it out. And now going underneath and sliding through the circle. Again, pull through the circle, through that loop. Now the loop wanted to come back on. There we go. Now through the stitch, and then that loop back on your hook and through. Now for this next one, instead of doing 3 single crochet in between, I'm just going to do 2. So in the next one, doing 1, and then 1 more in the next. So I'm having to space these out a little bit uneven just because the band count doesn't work out. And I'm doing my next leg. And if you attach it wrong, you'll know, because it'll be angling the wrong way. So I'm going through everything and back on, and I actually didn't take that clip off yet, so let me do that now. I have the 3 loops, one's pulling through the other 2, so you can see here how it's looking. And now this time I'm going to do 3 single crochet in between. So let me just grab 3 bands here. And now I'm going to do my next one. Let me just move my bands over here so I can see them a little better. And now it pulls through the other 2. And now again I'm going to do a count of 3 single crochets. So 1, 2, and 3. So let me just get this band pulled out. It sort of wanted to shrink back in there. And I'm going underneath. I can take my clip out. And then again I'm doing 3 single crochets. So that's 1, 2, and 3. So we're getting down here. We have 2 more legs. Let me take off the clip. And now this time I'm going to do just 2 single crochet in between the legs. So that's 1, and 2. Now here's my last leg. And I'm just going to anchor this. And now I should have 3 stitches left. And I should have 3 bands, which I do. So this is 1, 2, and then this very last one has the clip. And 3. And let me just move my clip here. So see, that wasn't too bad, was it? And here we have them all attached. In rows 6 through 11, we're going to be doing 1 single crochet in each stitch. So there's a total of 30 bands needed for each one of these rows. So I have my piles counted out here. So I'll do the first row with you, and then I'll let you do the other 5 on your own. So I'm just doing a regular single crochet, even though it's a little bit more difficult because you're contending with all of these legs now that are attached. And some of the stitches might look smaller than you're used to because they're being pulled a little bit by the weight of the legs. So just make sure you're going through every one. So I can see here that this stitch here is already where my last band is through, so I'm going to this next one over. And it does look awfully small, but that's just because it's being pulled by the weight of this leg. But I do want to go in through that. And you're just doing that one single crochet in each, so it's pretty easy. So I'll just work my way around here. And as I said, some of the stitches look bigger than normal because they're being pulled, where other stitches look smaller than normal. So here I'm over my first leg, or actually it's my second leg, and this stitch looked pretty obvious that I'm going through, but then that next stitch looks really tiny because it's being pulled. So just make sure you don't skip that. You want to go in that. And then once we get this first layer on, it should be back to normal for the next layer. So that's why I wanted to do this one with you, just to point that out. And now I'm over the next leg here, and actually this one doesn't look like it's pulled as much, so that's good. It's definitely a bit cumbersome having to contend with all of these legs, but it was the easiest way that I came up with to attach them. So now again here, this next one is being pulled a little bit, so it's just a bit smaller. And then again here I see this one looks pretty tiny, so it just takes a little bit more patience to be getting through these small ones. And if you're ever unsure if you need to go through a stitch or not, if you look over to the side, it's a little bit easier to tell if you've gone through it or not, especially when you get to these ones that are really scrunched together. If you're not sure, just take a look at the side, and I think it's more helpful that way. Now this one here is super tiny. And I have 3 bands left, and it looks like I have 3 stitches. And now these are my last 2. Here's my very last one, And I have one band left where the clip is. Let me just take the clip off. So that worked out perfect. So now you're just going to continue making 5 more rows of single crochet. So you can pause your video here, and once you've done that, I'll show you what to do next. In row 12, you're going to need a total of 25 rubber bands, and we are going to start to decrease. So I've put a clip where we're going to do a decrease. So you're going to do 4 single crochets and then a decrease, and then 4 single crochets and a decrease, and so on. So I'm actually going to take these bands and move them out of the way, just because when I put my octopus here, I know the legs are going to mess them all up anyway. But I will count these out with you. So let me just get my hook back in here, and we're just doing the 4 single crochets to start. So that's 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then these next 2 stitches are going to go together. So in order to do this, you're going to just take your hook and go through this next stitch like normal. But then you're going to take your hook and pull it back towards yourself, and then also go through the next 2 loops for that next stitch. So you should have the 4 loops from those 2 stitches plus the one at your base here. You're going to take a rubber band, it's going to pull through the first stitch, and then it's also going to pull through the second stitch. And you want to sort of spread this out a little bit so it's not too tightly pulled. And then you're getting that other end back on your hook, and the one slides through the other 2. So by doing that, we're just lessening our stitch count by 1 every time we decrease. So now you're going into this next stitch, and just be careful that you are going into the next stitch. If you look here, you can see that we did go through this one that's right here. You may think you have to go through that, but that's one of the ones we joined together, so it's this next one over here. So you're going to do 4 singles, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the next 2 are going to join together again. So you're going through the first stitch, pulling back towards yourself, and then going through the second stitch. You're going to take your rubber band and you're going to pull through the first and then through the second. Sometimes it's a little bit difficult to get through that second one. You may have to use your fingers to pull the rubber bands a little bit. So I'm just evening that out, getting through the other end, and one slides through the other 2. And you can usually tell a little bit where you do the decrease, and if you want you can just take your fingers. I usually like to try and smooth it out as best that I can. So now we're on to 4 more singles. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Again, the next 2 stitches on your hook, and then you're pulling that band through both. And then regular single crochet. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then my next 2 together. And then one more set here. I have 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then you should have 2 stitches left and 1 rubber band. So I'm going through the first one and then back through the one with the clip. So I have the 2 stitches and then the band pulls through both. And then just finish it. So now I'm going to take my clip and just move it above here. And as I said, you can take a minute and try and smooth it out here where the stitches join together. The next thing that I'm going to do before I add my next layer of the body is to make the mouth. And for that you'll probably need between 4 and 8 rubber bands. Just depends on the size mouth that you'd like. And then where this clip is, I'm considering that the back of the octopus, so I want to come over here to the front. And you need to decide where you want to place your mouth. If you look at the bands, you can see that they form this natural diagonal pattern in between the rows. So I'm going to work with that to sort of form the curve of the mouth. So I think I'll go in through this one here, somewhere around the middle, and I'm going to push my hook through to the back. I'm going to take my first rubber band and I'm going to hook it inside and pull it through. And then I'm going to leave the rubber band on my hook and I'm coming diagonally down here and a little bit to the right. I'm going to push my hook back through. And then I need to grab this other end of the loop, pull it out. So then I have the 2 black loops on here, and to me it looks like the one's a little bit twisted. So let me just see. It looks like it's okay. And now I'm going to pull the 1 loop through the other. And then from here I'm going to go diagonally down and to the right again. So I'm going to come over here and push my hook in. I'm going to take another band and hook it from the inside and pull it out. And I'm also going to pull it through this loop here. And then I'm going to go over to the right. I don't think I want to go down anymore because I'm close to the bottom here. So I'm just going to go straight over here, grab that other side of the loop and pull it out. And then one pulls through the other. And then I think I'm going to work my way up here. So let's see, I think I'll go through this one here, diagonally up and to the right. Pull through my next band, and then I'll go over up just a little bit more and pull through that one. So that looks pretty good to me. So I'm just going to take my hook out, but I don't want to lose this band, so I'm just going to hold this in my fingers, and then from the inside I'm just going to reach through and grab that band and pull it through to the back. And now I need to take another rubber band and I need to tie this off. So let me just go through a couple of these pink bands inside. And I'm going to take my rubber band and pull it through the 2 pink and then also the black. Make a nice tight slip knot so it's not going to come apart. And then I have my mouth. Next, I'm going to add the eyes, and you have a lot of different options here. I'm going to be using these pink girly googly eyes for mine, so I'm actually not going to add these until the end, and I'll hot glue them on. But if you're using anything different that needs to be worked into the creation here, you'll have to do it now. So I have 8mm black beads that I've strung onto a rubber band using a twist tie, the metal from the twist tie, to pull that through. So you could do something like that, or you can use buttons. And if you don't have beads or buttons or Google eyes, you can just use rubber bands. So what I would do is take a black rubber band and triple or quadruple it. So you're just putting it on, twisting, and putting it back on, and then repeating that until it's nice and tight. And then you're going to take your pink and you just want to slide this on. Just make sure all of the loops get on there. So you can see I've already done that with this one. And then you just need to determine where you want the eyes to be. So for example, this is going to go up a couple more rows, but it is going to close off. So maybe like right around here near the top, you would just take your hook and push it through from the back or from the inside, and take your rubber band and pull the one side through, and then go over to the left and come back out, grab the other side and pull that through. And then you would just need to take an additional rubber band, slide that through both of the loops, and then slide one through the other and pull that nice and tight to anchor that in there. So that's what it would look like with a rubber band. And then of course you would do the same thing if you were using beads. You would see where you want the other eye to be, and then you would just reach through from the back, grab one of the ends and pull it through, and then come back out right next to it, grab the other end, pull it through to the back, and then take an additional band and anchor that in there with a nice and tight slip knot. So you can see this is coming apart here. I think I needed to make it even tighter than what I did, make the black nice and tight together. So it all just depends on what you have to use. In row 13, I'm just going to do one single crochet in each of the stitches. So I have a count of 25 bands, and I am just going to let you do that on your own since it is pretty straightforward. So you can pause and do that now. In row 14, we'll be doing some more decreasing. So you need a total of 20 rubber bands, and we'll be doing the pattern of 3 single crochets and then a decrease, and then just keep repeating that. So again, I'm going to move these out of the way because I know the octopus is just going to knock them anyway. So let me just get my hook back in here and we'll follow this pattern. So we're going to do 1, 2, 3 singles, and then in that 4th and 5th stitch we're going to put them together, and that band is going to pull through both stitches, and then we're going to do 3 more singles. So that's 1, 2, 3, and then the next 2 together. And then 1, 2, 3, and then together. One, two, three, and then my decrease. And then I should have one more set in the pattern. So it's 1, 2, 3, and then there should be 2 stitches left for your last decrease. Let me just move this clip. And then I'll reattach here. And again, you can take a minute and try and just smooth out those decreases. In row 15, you're going to need a total of 14 rubber bands. We're doing a decrease for every other one, so you're going to do 1 single crochet, the next 2 together, single crochet, 2 together, and so on. And then at the very end here, you're just going to have a single. So let me just get these out of the way and get this back on my hook. So the first one is going to be a single crochet, and then the next 2 are together. And then next we have a single, and then 2 together. So I'm doing this every other one because I really want to get the top of this head closed off here. And then I have a single, and then 2. So after we get this part done, we're going to add the stuffing before it gets too closed off. But I like to save that till I get near the end, because once you put that fluff in, it really gets in your way when you have to close off stitches. And then I have 2 together. And don't worry if your head looks like it's kind of caving in as you're working here, because once we put that stuffing in, you're not going to notice that. It's going to fill itself out. And then I have my 2. And then there should be 2 stitches left here and 2 bands. So just 1 single crochet in each of these last 2 stitches. So now you can see there's not very much space left here at all, so I do want to add my polyfill. So it's going to take a pretty decent amount because it's a pretty big circle, but I would recommend doing smaller sections at a time. So I'll just grab one little section here, and I am going to move this clip, hold that up out of the way. Just start filling here. And you definitely want to fill it enough so that it doesn't leave any gapes in the bands at all. But if you fill it too full, you will see the fluff in between the stitches, so just have to use your best judgment. And then just work it into any corners. Even though there's not really corners because it's a circle, but I think I am going to add a little bit more. So let me see. I think that looks pretty good here. In row 16, we're going to be doing a decrease every other stitch again, same as row 15. So you'll need a total of 10 rubber bands. So I'm going to this next stitch over, and I'm doing one single crochet, and then the next two together. Just have to keep trying to push this fluff down out of your way. And then a single. And then two together. And then another single. And two together. And then a single. Decrease. And then finally in the last two we don't have room to do another decrease. So you just have one single crochet in each. And it's pretty much most of the way closed off by now. Now we're at the end here and we just want to finish closing this off. I'm not actually going to keep doing rows because if you do that it's going to make it stick up here on the top and we don't want that to happen. So I just have a couple extra bands, maybe you'll need about 3 or 4, and I'm just going to finish closing this off. So I will go in through this next stitch, and then I think I'll skip the next one and maybe go through the next stitch and just pull a band through here, close that off, and then I think I'll skip the next one and go into this next stitch, and then maybe skip another one and go into the next one. Kind of just have to use your judgment of where you think it needs to be closed off. Sometimes there's a little bit more gapes than others in certain places. So I think that looks like it's fairly well closed off here. Let me just take my clip out since we don't need that anymore. And now I have this loose band that's on my hook, so I just need to go through, I think I'm going to go through here where I first started, where the clip just was that I took off, and then maybe through another band here. If you see anything that looks like it needs to be closed up a little bit tighter, you can go through. So I'm going to take an additional band and I'm just going to pull through everything that's on my hook, get it back on, make a nice tight slip knot, and then we're going to have to hide that. So I'm just going to reach my hook up through here pretty far down on the body and just try not to get too much fluff there, and then just pull that out and push. I see I made fluff come out. Push that down and smooth it out so that it's complete. Now I'm going to add my eyes, so I'm going to hot glue them on, and you may have already added your eyes in a previous step, but I'm just going to do that now. So I'm just going to sort of see where I think they'll look good. And you can use other types of glue other than hot glue, but I don't know how good it would hold. I guess you could try like rubber cement. I'm sure just regular glue wouldn't work. I like these eyes for the girls since they already come with the little eyelashes on. I have all these little hot glue strings. And so here she is. And then if you want to, you can add some accents onto it. I have a flower here that I think will look really cute on her. And I will add the tutorial link for this if you want to make a flower, if you made a little girl. So you can just attach that on here with some couple of bands for anchors. And let me just zoom out here a little bit. And then if you wanted to, you could also add the sailor's hat, and I can show you what that would look like here with the sailor's hat on. So I think either one would be really cute, and again I will add the link for you to make the sailor's hat if you want to. I hope that everyone loves their new Lumigurumi octopus. You can always leave me comments on YouTube and Facebook, post pictures of your creations to my Facebook page, and please feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel so you can stay up to date on my latest tutorials. You can also find me on Pinterest and Instagram, so please feel free to subscribe to those as well. Thanks for watching!